Hello, welcome back to the A2theK Wrestling Show, and we're here to talk to you today about the results and our reactions to WWE Hell in a Cell. So, let me run you down the match card, and then Anthony, you can drop in with your thoughts, and we'll discuss
Appreciate
what
that,
went
because
down.
this has been a mostly Raw pay-per-view, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, in terms of the card, on the pre-show, we had Natalya taking on Mandy Rose, with Natalya picking up the win. For some reason. This is why Roman and Ray had to suffer and not make the show. We then had the SmackDown Women's title kicking off the show inside a Hell in a Cell. Bianca Belair defending against Bayley. She did just that. Bianca picked up the win in what was a really strong opening contest. We then had a random little bit of Alexa's Playgrounds, where she basically told Shayna to be careful what she wishes for. Sound. We then had Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Again. And this time, Seth Rollins picked up the win.
Guess who's not got a push anymore?
That lasted long. We then had a backstage interview that kind of really wasn't with.
Let's have some backstage interviews on a card that couldn't fit Roman Reigns on it. Yeah,
exactly. With Shayna, Nia, and Reginald. So obviously they deserved the airtime. And that was ahead of the match, obviously, with Alexa Bliss taking on Shayna Baszler, which Alexa Bliss won, which is going to come as a shock to nobody. We then had Kevin Owens taking on Sami Zayn for the 18 millionth time.
Is this a thing? Did this need to be a thing?
But Sami Zayn won this one.
I was doing fuck all this pay-per-view. Absolutely fuck all.
We then had the Raw Women's title on the line. Rhea Ripley against Charlotte. Charlotte wins, but via disqualification. So the belt does not change hands. Really? Yeah,
but
we'll come on to that.
It's okay because Charlotte still won.
Exactly. And then the WWE title was what closed out the show. Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. If Drew loses, he can never challenge Bobby again. Same old shenanigans. MVP distracts Drew. And then what is going to be the finish to this brutal Hell in a Cell match, I hear you ask?
Disembodied hand.
No, just a roll-up. Bobby gets the win. Drew is screwed. And that was the card, Anthony. That was the show.
What a card it was.
So before we dive into the highlights and no shites, I want to preface this by just looking at that card and saying, I think the only match we've never ever seen before on that whole card was probably Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler.
This is the problem. This was
every other match. Every other match we have seen got to be at least 5 times.
Well, look at Bianca Belair and Bayley. We're on at least number 3 now, right?
At least.
Yeah. Cesaro and Seth. This is probably their 3rd outing. Alexa, yeah, like you say, Alexa Bliss and Shane. I think this is the first time they've been teasing it for a bit, but it's the first time they've actually had a match. KO and Sammy probably on number 11 by now.
It's got to be about 100.
Rhea and Charlotte. This has got to be 3rd, 4th even, because they battled at last year's WrestleMania as well. So yeah, a ton of times. Lashley and Drew, God, I've lost count. So you're right. All rematches, all the time.
All rematches, and a lot of them very recent as well, like either from WrestleMania or from Backlash. So it's not even like it's been a while since we've seen a lot of these things. So yeah, just a lazy ass thrown together card.
I believe it's WrestleMania Backlash.
Oh, my bad, yeah. So it was either WrestleMania or WrestleMania Backlash or WrestleMania Hell in a Cell. One of them.
Or WrestleMania Raw.
Yeah, WrestleMania?
WrestleMania, love
it. So yeah, that was the card. I don't know whether you want to chat through any highlights, whether you want me to go through. How do you want to do this thing?
Well, I'll mention for me, I don't really
pretty much sums up the show. Yeah, thanks.
I'm struggling with highlights as a whole, right? Because some elements you can go, well, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn always have good matches together, but are so overdone at this point that I don't really call it a highlight. I don't really care. And I'm looking at I want to talk about the main event had a couple of highlights. I actually did like the MVP inclusion where he used the cane to sort of pin him in the corner. I thought that was quite unique, and it didn't feel forced because MVP's usually got a cane or whatever. The disembodied hand was a bit weird. Did you see that? Did you pick up on that?
What was that even?
No.
Yeah.
From under the ring.
Who's
I don't think that was anything other than someone putting something in position for them. But like, where does somebody just stay under there the whole match? The hell?
Yeah.
So that was weird. But I do think, as much as I don't think anyone expected Drew to win, and it's a bit shitty that there wasn't a straight finish to it. I do think it was actually a good match. In all fairness, so I would give that a highlight as it goes as a match. Just a real shame about the finish in some ways. And you can say that for a few of this stuff, can't you? Really. And Cesaro and Seth, and again, good match. I'm a little disappointed with the finish because it's a clear sign that they've gone right. Yeah, you're done now, Cesaro. We give you a bit of a spot, and we're still gonna give Golden Boy his win. Okay. I'm not going to say that, but so yeah, I mean, for me, there was some interesting matches there. A lot of rematches, so nothing was particularly like highlight worthy. But it's the best thing I can give as a highlight is that like there was some good stuff there match wise.
Yeah, I think for me the only real highlight I had was the Belair Bailey match. I thought that was really well executed, and it wasn't overshadowed by some kind of shenanigan or some kind of shitty finish. It was clear. The finish was pretty brutal as well. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed theirs.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I didn't mean to sort of totally ignore theirs. It was a really good match, and like you say, the straightest finish we probably had all fucking night.
Yeah, and I mean, other than that, there's not really. I think to your point, everything you've said, like in terms of the Bobby and Drew, like they've pretty much perfected since they've had so many. They're kind of big men, big meaty men slapping meat. I don't know, whatever the expression is, but the big hoss fight that that we've come to know and love and expect from them. They have polished that quite well. So yeah, all in all, the match itself was all right, as you've said, but yeah, I think we need to just jump right into the stuff that just wasn't, unfortunately, and that is pretty much the rest of the card. So, firstly, we've seen a lot of these things before, which we've already said, and we've seen them plenty of times. For me, it was just the way that things were executed throughout this whole pay-per-view. So, Cesaro Rollins was a roll-up pin. Bobby Lashley McIntyre was a roll-up. After Drew got distracted again by MVP, like that was exactly the same as what happened at WrestleMania. Then the women's
I find
title.
it weird that they're not giving. I feel like the roll-up pin is it's very much that, isn't it? It's that shock pin out of nowhere. That's the type of thing that like you'd normally see the likes of like Dominic Mysterio getting as an upset victory. Like, why aren't they giving Bobby a clear fucking win, a clearly dominant win here? If they're putting the nail in the coffin that he can never challenge again, why didn't he dominate and go, this is like full on out for the count? Why did he do it as a roll up?
Honestly,
I don't mind the Seth one that much.
Other than them trying to keep him looking strong, but really it doesn't even achieve that. I'm just so annoyed by all this, and I've got on record as saying I'm not a fan of Bobby Lashley as a champion, and I'm still not. He's shite. He's awful. What's his thing now? He's got his fucking hose.
Yeah, I don't know why they're going about that line.
It's ridiculous.
All they needed to do was give him the same thing that he did with Brock. Have MVP do his talking for him, and don't let him talk because he's not good at it. And don't try with all this stupid shit. Just have MVP talk about how dominant he is. That's all he needed. He come out and wreck people. That's all he needed to do with him, and it would have worked just fine. We've seen it work just fine. Yeah. But instead, it's like, well, let's pair him with Lana. No, let's do this. No, let's give him hose because that worked for the Godfather. It's like, do you know what you want?
No, they don't at all. And the problem I've got with it now as well is what's next for Drew now, because he's not going to go to SmackDown at least anytime soon. And even if he does, I don't think they're going to let him dethrone Reigns at this point. But now he can't challenge Bobby, so what? He's got to sit at the sidelines and wait for someone else to beat Bobby now. So I don't know. I just feel like it's such like disrespect to him, and it's such a shame considering how long he, held
what
the
annoys
fucking.
Me is I don't want to see these two carry on feuding, right? But what would have been an interesting way to deal with it for me, and I don't know if you agree with it or not, if they'd have put the stipulation in really early on, like Drew loses the title and he wants a rematch, and the only way he's going to get it is if he can never challenge again, right? And then Bobby Lashley wins, and it's like, fuck, that happened really way too soon, right? And then you have Bobby Lashley in a title match who gets screwed over by Drew, so you're keeping Bobby strong. Drew's made him lose so he can challenge again. but then that leads to them two feuding. Both of them, neither of them have got the title. Someone else is getting a run with the title while they do that. We can have that nice feud, and you've still used that crazy stipulation. But right now, the way they've done it is Drew can't do fuck all, like you say. He's just going to have to either have some time off or have some mid-card matches that no one really cares about.
Which they can't afford to do. Like, he is one of the only top stars you've got left at the minute. It's baffling. And to think as well, if you look at this card, like, we talk about the top talent that's in WWE, we didn't have Roman on this card. We didn't have Randy Orton on the card. We didn't have AJ Styles. We didn't have... Like,
honestly, this was a shocking card. Like, because one of the things I want to complain about as no shite is the sheer amount of time they give Alexa. All due respect to her. We had Alexa's Playground, we had an interview with Shayna, Nia, and Reginald, and then the Alexa match itself. And we couldn't afford to have even some of the... Like, all right, I get it. Like, the Roman Reigns match might have been quite a long match to have on the pay-per-view. But, like, there was still other things, like, as much as I didn't like it, Shinsuke and Corbin didn't manage to finish anything. Like you say, we could have had a match between RK Bro and whoever the tag champs are on Raw. I don't even know anymore. There was so many possibilities, but instead they give us like 3 separate segments on Alexa for a throwaway thing with her and Shayna that no one really cares about. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, and that match was awful as well. And it's not for a lack of trying from Alexa either. Alexa is doing her bit really well. It's just terrible creative, and it's just... I don't get why any of this stuff's happening, and this whole thing where her character's evolved now to be able to possess people or hypnotize them or whatever it is she's doing. It's just, I don't know, it's not working. It just isn't landing at all for me.
I don't think it's ever like, and this is again through no shade on Alexa here when I say this, because I think she's done really good with the character, but this doesn't work without the Fiend.
No.
Like, at all. Like, her by herself is that, like, why is she even going after Shayna? Why is this even a thing?
Yeah, it feels so forced, really. Doesn't it? It's like, she went after her doll. It's like, oh my god, like, it's embarrassing to talk. Like, I couldn't tell people about that as a feud, because it'd just be ridicule, wouldn't it?
This is one of the things, like, we need to do this as a list of, like, things that like, the worst examples of wrestling to show to a non-wrestling fan, or however you'd want to phrase it. Because if you had to show someone, like, oh yeah, like, this is why I love wrestling, this would not be it. This would be the thing that puts people off, something shocking. Like, it's like one of them things, and it's like, you want to flick over to something less embarrassing when someone walks in the room with this. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It is one of them kind of things. It's like, this is just, it's so hokey that it's just not, you just can't.
It's always the thing they see as well. It's like when I used to watch Game of Thrones, and like, my wife wasn't watching it at the time, and she'd always come in, and it'd be when the fucking the red woman's like giving birth to a cloud or something, and it's just like, yeah. She's like, what are you watching? I'm like, it's not always like this. But yeah,
it's not what you think. They were all having sex a minute ago.
Yeah, that was much like, it gets to a point where you'd rather she walked in on that, At least then I'd be like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But like, you're just not explaining shit like that. So yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. That's got to be a future segment on it, a list. But
I'm one thing for that, because there's so many things that have happened in wrestling. You're like, I'd be ashamed to give that as an example.
One thing I have to do though, Anthony, and it's something we've threatened to do for a long, long time, but I'm going to do it about myself. You ready? Because we do run a prediction series here on A2theK.
We do. If you follow us on Instagram and participate, you'll be well aware.
This is quite a lengthy thing, but Bobby, do you want to? Music. Glorious. Who knows? But yes, because I got them all right, Anthony. 6 matches. We didn't include the pre-show because we didn't know what was happening. 6 matches. I got 6 out of 6.
The pre-show. Who gives a shit?
Well, and do you know why I got them all right, Anthony? And we said this a little bit when we spoke earlier.
Because you've seen them all before?
Well, yeah, but it's also, it's classic 50-50 booking, isn't it? So it was just obvious exactly what was going to happen. Yeah. We had Kevin Owens beat Sami Zayn at WrestleMania Backlash, or WrestleMania, one of them. So I knew Sami was going to win this one. We had the same as Cesaro and Rollins. There was, other than that, with the titles, we knew that they weren't going to be taken off. The Charlotte one, I knew it was going to go one or two ways, and it was either going to be that they would give up on Rhea and it would go to Charlotte, so she has number 15. Obviously, she needs to equal the same as her dad. Or I knew it was going to end as some kind of DQ type thing that would keep them both looking strong.
So pissed off. Like a lot of people have debated this, and I'm not even pissed off that they went for the DQ finish, and people are questioning how it went. I'm so pissed off that, like, why can't Rhea ever get a straight fucking victory over this girl?
Do you know what though?
How can it not make her look fucking weak as a champion?
I've been
massively.
Now
they're making out like she did it deliberately as a tactic.
I've been massively unimpressed with her on the main roster. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think she's been awful. I think whether it's the writing, whatever it is, but I don't know whether she's meant to be a face, a heel, a tweener. I don't know what she's meant to be. The promos are awful.
I think she's meant to be a heel, but WWE is still totally tone deaf to the fact that people aren't a big fan of Charlotte. I think Charlotte's meant to be the face in this.
Surely not. They can't.
It doesn't feel that way. Well, come on, like they try and infer like Shayna. Well, nearly a slip of the tongue there. Like Rhea deliberately got the DQ, so Charlotte couldn't get the title, and then walks away kind of smug, like she was playing the heel character. Like, and we're all meant to be sat there like, oh, you screwed Charlotte over. Now she's not going to win the title.
I'm sorry as well, but that is literally the worst DQ I've ever seen as well. It wasn't even like she hit him with the belt or a chair. It was the fucking top of an announce table.
This debate has been raging on Twitter about the fact that like that's never been a DQ in the history of wrestling.
I'm not being funny either though.
Smashed through announce tables and there's not a DQ.
Like the start of the match, Charlotte jumped Rhea Rhea, however you say it, with the title.
Yeah.
And it's like how, like what? Like okay.
Yeah. And I think if they were going to do this DQ finish, I think a lot of people might have been less pissed off if it was an actual DQ as well. Like it was so weird and a bit screwy that and I don't know. I can't think. You're our wrestling historian, to be fair, Carl, so you might know. But I don't recall any scenario where that's ever been a DQ.
Me neither. I'm lost now in terms of referees and when they disqualify people or when they don't, because there's no consistency with it. You'll have one match where they can do anything under the sun, it's okay. The next match, someone sneezes, it's a DQ. And it's like I honestly don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, they've never been consistent. Look at how they do countouts. Like, I'll start counting in a minute. Hold your horses.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah, I don't know. Just looking at it, like a lot of people said before this, on paper it looks like a good card, and I suppose
I don't think it does.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't end up being.
Well, like, let's look at the card honestly, though, right? You know, when you consider, I suppose when you look at it through the eyes of stuff we could have had as well. But let's look at the actual card. Like the pre-show is just nothing. Like, don't mind Natalya or Mandy Rose, but that just didn't need to happen as a match, right? Bianca Belair and Bayley, banger of a match. Sound, we'll keep that. Alexa's Playground, could have done without it. Cesaro and Seth rematch, had no real stakes or purpose, could have done without it. Interview with Shayna or not, they could have done without it. Alexa Bliss versus Shayna, again, totally cut that, totally fine with that. Kevin Owens and Sami, cut it. Again, they have good matches together, but pointless, we didn't need it. So of this entire card, we had 3 matches that were worthwhile.
Yeah.
I don't think this ever looked like a good card.
No. And also, just a note on the Kevin Owens one as well. The way they did that was so stupid. Obviously, he was trying to sell the attack, wasn't he, from Commander Aziz, or whatever he's called. And so the whole match, he was just like coughing and spluttering his way through it and holding his throat. And then the finish was like a weird little drop toe hold thing onto the bottom rope. So he hit his throat a little bit more. And then it was like the haluva kick. And it was just like, yeah, I feel like the matches were so poorly put together. Either terrible finishes, which was, the case in most of them, or just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and this is where it's like, oh no, we're saving all the good stuff when the fans come back. It's like, can you not just give us some good stuff? Like,
yeah, just an ounce, please.
I would really love to know why they made the decision to not have Roman and Rey on this card. I would love to know why.
Yeah, I'm still baffled by that. I haven't seen anything come out about why. Surely it wasn't just for timing reasons or something. I don't know what the reason could be, but
for a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, we didn't have that many Hells in Cells. Why? It just
something's off.
Yeah. Also, again, and we've seen this comment come up so much, but I noticed if you were looking at the hashtag HIAC during the pay-per-view, there was more than one comment saying like, "I wish they'd get rid of this as a pay-per-view," and only have the Hell in a Cell as a stipulation when it's needed. And I think this echoes that more and more. This was Hell in a Cell for Hell in a Cell's sake in a lot of cases. Don't be wrong, Bobby and Drew utilized the cell pretty well, but like you say, when it's just like, well, that's the pay-per-view this month, so I guess we'll have to fight in a cell. Just takes all the fun out of it, doesn't it?
Especially when you've got Elimination Chamber as its own pay-per-view. I feel like these are things that kind of came. If you look at the pay-per-views we've got today, we've got a lot of them based on match types. So Elimination Chamber is its own pay-per-view. Hell in a Cell is its own pay-per-view. TLC is its own pay-per-view. Money in the Bank is its own pay-per-view. And it's just kind of like...
I don't know what it is about Hell in a Cell, but like I can live with Elimination Chamber as its own pay-per-view. That kind of reminds me of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Because that is a stipulation match, isn't it? And the pay-per-view is based around it. But there's something about Hell in a Cell where you go, like, it feels like something you go, well, like, that's when you really need it. That's when there's an extreme. That's when we need to lock these guys in a cell together and have them fight it out. So when it's just a pay-per-view, and it's like, well, I guess we're in a cell anyway, just for the hell of it. It just doesn't, it takes all the fun out of it. Like, the Elimination Chamber, at least, is like that whole mystery thing of like, oh, these people are in the chamber, how's this going to go? There's like this mix-up. Not everyone has to hate everyone. There's no blood feud there necessarily. You know, it kind of works, as do certain other, stipulation matches that have become, like, to be honest, Hell in a Cell as a pay-per-view is similar to TLC as a pay-per-view. It's like, why are we getting chairs involved? Just, that's the pay-per-view. Pick up a chair and hit them.
Yeah.
Weird, really, but...
It's a really good point, honestly, and I think you're absolutely right. They need to be done away with. Like, if you look at the most famous Hell in a Cell match of all time, that took place at, was it King of the Ring? With Foley and...
Foley and Taker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
was it King of the Ring? I think it was King of the Ring. I'm going to question myself now. It was one of them, anyway. Was it King of the Ring? I can't remember. Which is terrible of me, I know, but like it I don't know, it just it wasn't good. I wasn't impressed with it. What would you do in terms of ratings for it?
For me, rating wise, a 2, and that's purely based on the 3 matches that I really enjoyed. Yeah, and honestly, the 3 matches I really enjoyed, annoyingly, the Rhea Ripley and Charlotte one is one of those matches I enjoyed. The finish pissed me off. But they actually put on a good match together until they didn't give Rhea an actual victory, which annoyed me. But and it's things like that. Even the good matches had bad things. Because you could argue the similar thing with Drew. Like, why did it have to be screwy on that one? But again, won't harp on too much. I'd probably give it a 2 on the basis that there was some good content there, but it really missed the mark for the most all around.
Yeah. I think other than the screwy finish, I'm probably going to say there was 4 matches that I enjoyed, which the other one just being the Cesaro-Seth one. I know we've seen it before. Yeah. I did enjoy it, but the finish just I don't know. It was just a bit like meh. And it was also too predictable for me. I knew Seth was going to get it because they wouldn't give him. And it was such a shame for Cesaro.
Of course it was, because you got all of them right. So it was definitely
don't make me play glorious again. But yeah, even though I want to call that out, I'm going to agree with you 2, which still makes it the best of the week, which is a sad state of affairs of what the last week's wrestling has been about. But that was pretty much it, all in all, I think, for the latest pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell. Breeze through it. But yeah, I don't even know what's next, to be fair. It's not Money in the Bank next, is it? Is it Money in the Bank? And then SummerSlam?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Because that's another little gripe we could have, that Money in the Bank. I probably don't mind it as a pay-per-view. I think you would much rather it be a stipulation match at WrestleMania, wouldn't you?
Well, that's where it originated, and it was something else. You had obviously the Royal Rumble, where you'd get your match at WrestleMania, which we've already said now feels a little bit too long with the amount of shows they have. But then at WrestleMania, you're crowning your Money in the Bank the same time you're potentially crowning your new champion. So then you've got that whole cat and mouse game, whereas you leave it 2 or 3 months. It's like, I don't know, but I don't mind it as a tone.
I much prefer a Money in the Bank match than I would, in all honesty, the Andre the Bank. Don't get me wrong, not because of the Andre thing. I get that they're trying to honour the man, but the actual Battle Royal does nothing for anyone. You win a trophy, and then you get to say you've won it, but they've not used it to excel or push anyone. If they did,
you win a trophy and then you get released like 9 times out of 10. Like most of the winners.
Yeah,
have.
there's Bar Corbin who's still hanging on there. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like, if they had a Money in the Bank stipulation match, even if they wanted to still honor Andre the Giant and have it named after him in some way, but actually have the Money in the Bank ladder match and obviously the briefcase and so on, it just feel more entertaining. I'm not really, and I always enjoy a good battle. I mean, Royal Rumble's my favorite pay-per-view. It's hard, but I actually think it's probably better than WrestleMania for me. And it's a tough choice, but I honestly do really like the Royal Rumble. So it's not like I'm against a Battle Royal style match, but what do you get out of these? You know what I mean? Same with the Mae Young one.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help having obviously another Battle Royal at WrestleMania, which isn't too far removed from the Royal Rumble as well. And I know it's a way to get more people on the card, and I get that they want the WrestleMania payday, but yeah, that hasn't been good for a while now. But for me, I would I would return back to the original formats of your main pay-per-views. I'd bring King of the Ring back because we don't have any tournament type styles,
which is weird because despite everything, WWE have always been really good at tournament brackets.
Yeah.
So why do they shy away from them? I don't know.
Baffles me. You don't have to saddle someone with a shitty King gimmick. It's just a way to determine a winner. That's all it is. It's a tournament. But we need that back. Royal Rumble obviously is brilliant. WrestleMania is brilliant. Money in the Bank, I agree. Elimination Chamber, I also agree. SummerSlam is the summer version of WrestleMania, supposedly. Survivor Series in its original form, before it was brand warfare, was always quite good as well. Well, do
you know what? I didn't even mind Survivor Series and the brand warfare thing when it included NXT because I felt it added something different. You got to see people who wouldn't normally get to interact with them, try and I love this whole thing of the underdogs trying to assert themselves, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we're not having them involved this year." Why?
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, no idea. But yeah, so basically, let's get rid of shitty little pay-per-views like this that take a match type and try and build a whole pay-per-view around it when it doesnn't need it. And instead, let's return to better ones.
What do you think of the red cell?
I hate it. I don't know why they did it. Apparently, it's better for you're meant to be able to see through it better on TV or something, aren't you? But it just looks stupid, doesn't it? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the nostalgia in me, but I much prefer the original cell.
Yeah, me too.
There's something felt more brutal about it as well.
Yeah,
the red one just feels a bit more cartoony.
Yeah,
and when you have the red cell, as we saw with Seth Rollins, when you have the red cell and then the Fiend appears, it just fucks everything up.
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, where did the cell go? Oh no, it's there. You have to squint.
But yeah, I don't know. I'll keep obviously sticking with it, and the more I see it, the more I'm like, I miss the old cell. And it might just be the old guy in me, the nostalgia in me going, I remember when cells were good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm keen.
No, me neither. Okay. And that, Anthony, was another week of the A2theK Wrestling Show.
It certainly was.
We did it. We made it through. I don't know what we're going to chat about next week, to be fair. We'll have to think about that. Maybe we will do that segment that we just pulled out our ass in the middle of this. Which is...
It's us, let's be honest. We're going to forget exactly what we said.
Yeah.
And maybe not do that. But
I mean, yeah. It was something about... What was it?
No, I'm sticking with... I joke. I actually want to... we'll find a better title for it, but I definitely want to talk next week about the worst examples to give non-wrestling fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk about this because there have been some historic things that are if you had to show this, if this was the only example you had of professional wrestling to show someone who's not a fan, you would not sell them on it at all. And that's the kind of stuff I want to highlight. Okay, that sounds like a fun-filled segment that I'm sure you guys will all love as well. But we'll be back next week. Same time. We think we're going to do it Monday again. Almost like a return to form. Same bad place. That's it. But yeah, until then, we hope you have a blessed week, and we will see you. Bless you all. Yes, bless you. Amen. Good night. We will see you next week. And Godspeed. Oh, and follow us on social and shit. I always forget to say that. All that stuff too. Yeah, do that.
Cheers.
You're watching or listening
to A2theK.
The A2theK.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.